Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is the most disturbing videos on the internet today. Let's dive in.
Let me show you one of the most interesting and strangest museums in Egypt. And before we get started, let me explain that the River Nile had crocodiles in it up until the 1970s, which brings me to the Crocodile Museum. Located in Komombo, next to Komombo Temple, is this museum full of mummified crocodiles. Now we know that the crocodiles are a very important animal to the ancient Egyptians because they had a crocodile god called Sobek. And just like with other animals that were important to the ancient Egyptians, they decided to mummify them to take them with them to the afterlife. And if you're wondering, why is there no more crocodiles in the River Nile? Well, it's not because they've all been mummified. It's in fact because Egypt decided to build a high dam further up the Nile, which blocked them all from coming downstream. But there's still an area called Lake Nasser, which sits behind the dam, which is full of them. When you visit the Temple of Komombo, you will understand the importance of the crocodile to the ancient Egyptians. And as a rule of thumb in ancient Egypt, if there's a special temple built to a special god, which is based on an animal, then you know that animal is important, and you will find them mummified. And if you're wondering whereabouts is the exact location of this place, well, it's located between Luxor and Aswan, and you'll normally stop here if you're on a river cruise.
I just feel like we're missing something. I can't put my foot on it. We're not telling the truth. There was some type of technology involved, some type of wicked reanimation or something. I just keep thinking of why they would mummify. Yeah, because the crossing over and, they thinking they can bring them with them. But what if it was something else? If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for the algorithm, because we do these videos 365 days a year, 366 on a leap. And I love to see you around here. So let's get straight back into the action.
So look, those fellas had something to do with it. It's too worn to tell what it says. And there was a professor there that was very interested to show us around, and he had been there for 30 years and he knew everything about it. And I said, what does that say? Because it wasn't regular letters. They looked sort of like regular letters. This is blurry, so you can't really see it. But if I blur my eyes, I almost see the word in the second line down. I don't know if you see it, but it almost looks like it says Mason. Do you see that?
Not very well.
But you do see the Masonic symbol, right?
Yes, I do.
Which I thought was interesting. I find that all the time. We also found that up at Sewanee. Didn't take a picture of it for whatever reason. But the guy, he's staring at it. The guy's worked there for 30 years. He's staring at the sign to try and figure out what it said. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this building really caught my attention when we first got here.
So the Knights of Pythias are really interesting because I encountered them in my research tracking ley lines. And supposedly they were created by an act of Congress in 1864, which would have been during the American Civil War. And their purpose was to build homes for widows and orphans.
Oh, right. But the Odd Fellows are the ones that take care of the widows and the orphans.
So that's another one. So there seems to be these secret societies that I consider part of the reset. They were involved in the actual reset of these places, and that was what the Knights of Pythias had as their reason for being, was building these beautiful castles and so forth as a place for widows and orphans from the American Civil War to live.
The one that I currently have up is the side of the Pythian building.
Different kinds of brick.
This is the side of it too, and also like the filled-in windows and kind of weirdly random here. My student is working in architecture. She just graduated with her architecture degree, and she's working in Phoenix in architecture. I asked her what she thought about the style, and apparently they don't talk about that in architecture degrees. She goes, well, so far, she was just about to graduate, and she said, so far we've just done math. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, come on.
Front side of the building, you still have, it looks like the original roofing there, and then you have the rod going up, and that would have been part of the energy system.
You would think they would teach the old world architecture in architecture class, but they're just doing math.
One of the questions I had for you is the fireplace thing. My friend and I were talking about fireplaces. She distinctly remembers in her grandparents' house in Oklahoma, fireplaces that weren't deep enough for wood. What do you think about that?
That's part of the deception too, is what I think. They had to burn wood in order to provide a heating source. for places that originally had an internal heating system. And
do you think though?
Uh-huh.
I mean, what if they had some other purpose?
So let's say that with the new narrative and the new world, if you will, whatever fireplaces were became the receptacles for fires. And so there's andirons. A viewer brought this to my attention. So if you look at andirons that hold the wood, some of them are works of art. Just absolutely gorgeous.
Had them.
Drop dead gorgeous. Yeah. You're not going to stick a burning log on the things that are in museums. They served a different purpose too. So I would say, yes, definitely there is more to that story. It's just breathtaking.
Yeah, and maybe the chimney wasn't a source to bring energy down into the house or something. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I would say something along those lines. Our history is nothing like what we've been taught, so it had some kind of advanced heating capability that we can't even imagine because...
Radium fireplaces from the ether.
As we were taken back so far from the technology that we were at that they just had to use whatever was available.
We needed wood because we weren't smart enough to figure out stone, because if we knew what they knew, why would you go for wood when you could do brick and stone? Clearly they didn't know how to do brick and stone. So we cut down trees, and I've always felt like that trees were energy sources, and that I was in Sweden. And the hotel where we stayed, the room was very European, very modular. It was absolutely beautiful. But there was an energy in that room that I felt was the wood. And then we sang in this hall that was likewise, it was entirely wood. The ceiling was, everything was wood. And I mean, the acoustic was phenomenal. It's a different sound. Wood is a different sound than rock, brick, marble, whatever. I walked around the corner of the building. Look what we found.
This entire video is speculation, theories, and allegedly. You be the judge. Why would they put such decorative metal contraptions in the middle of these fireplaces? Uh-oh, look out, the Goatman. Goatman caught on camera. Eerie footage sparks debate. I want to say it's just a goat walking by because of the horns and eyes, but it's almost staring like some type of predator.
This woman disappeared after revealing the truth about our water. Watch this.
This is tap water, and we're going to show you how much chlorine is in tap water. We are going to use chlorinated drops. It's a clear liquid with a yellow cap, and this is chlorine. And we are going to see how much chlorine is in our tap water. Now, in this demonstration, we're going to show you how fast chlorine absorbs into your skin. They say that chlorine is proven to cause, it also affects the endocrine system and also asthma, eczema, psoriasis. So we want to eliminate chlorine. Now we're mimicking what happens in a shower or bath. Take out our hand, do the same exact test. We're going to stir that up. Where's the chlorine? It's in my hand.
She uncovered the shocking truth. We're absorbing more chlorine than we ever imagined, which is why this woman disappeared.
Looks like well water's the way. Or we go outside and what? Take a shower in the rain? What are we supposed to do? Go to your local river? Whenever I see this Sumerian text and I see this Anunnaki on the right, this giant, and these smaller people on the left, I think the Anunnaki are fallen angels. And they had some genetic experiments that went crazy, and that's how we get all these Egyptian gods, Ra, Set, and all them. That's just my thoughts on it. And what do you know? They're children. Please don't let that be 6 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe that's 6? I don't know. But they're supposed to have 6 toes.
Check that out, guys. This star is called Vega. Look at that. It's beautiful. Now, technically, this is out of focus, but look how beautiful that is. Wow. It's just gorgeous. It's electric looking, like pure energy. Oh, wow. Look at that. It's just beautiful.
Looks like the water's above. If you guys thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. Feast your eyes on this outstanding specimen. There is no description, but it is stunning. If I would have to say some type of quartz with some type of grape iodine signature within it. The square columns are absolutely astounding. So many different colors. We see at least 8 different colors on the spectrum. Truly fascinates the mind trying to grasp all the different colors, the different shapes. If I had to name this piece, it would be Dark Cubics. Dark Cubics would be the name of this extraordinary piece.
Do you know the truth about bells? The ether, the frequencies, the things that you felt? It comes from the sky, it's atmospheric. It comes from the heart. Do you not feel this? The bells could heal your mind and your blood. They could take away poison, illnesses, and love. When the wars happened, the bells got destroyed, same as the architecture. When it made noise, can you not feel the vibrations and the sounds? It goes ring ding ding. You can feel it right now. Only a few play around the world. If the bells don't play, the frequencies no more. Our souls and our love will drop to the floor. The old world was real, and now we're in new world order. Please wake up, because we're dropping like sawdust. Mathematics the code, the light and the dark. We'll be here to the end, we'll be here to the start. We're trapped in a demonic world, reptilian way, higher vibrations to get through the gates. The bells will ring once again, then we all wake up and we become friends. Wake up, my guys. Stay blessed. Do you know the truth about bells?
I would love to see the process how a giant bell is made. Who's going to lift these back in the day? Is the question.
See, this is apparently Mount Sinai. There's video footage of all this. The top is still burned. Became a type of a volcanic glass like obsidian or something. It actually burned the rock. There's also apparently the altar that Aaron made with a golden calf. They made the golden calf on the altar, but on the side of the altar, they drew a picture of a calf or cow. Still there. God told Moses to smite the rock and water would come out. A lot of folks think this is the rock that Moses smote. That rock sticking up on that mountain is 5 stories tall. 50 feet to the top of that rock, as tall as these trees around here. And it's split right down the middle. On both sides there are erosion marks. Water came pouring out of that rock. We have sulfur balls. I've got some here on the table. These are actual sulfur balls from Sodom and Gomorrah. They're 99.9% sulfur and they're burned out. These sulfur balls specimens were tested by Michael Bonilla, a friend of mine up in New York. He said they were 97.4% pure sulfur when he had them tested. Millions of these sulfur balls are over there, right in that one area. It literally rained burning sulfur. So hot that it took the bricks of the city and baked it into ash. No place else in the world has these phenomena. We've got hundreds of them in our museum out here. Sulfur balls from Sodom and Gomorrah.
People say America was Egypt and everything happened over here, where would Sodom and Gomorrah be in America? Because a lot of people say a lot of that stuff happened over here. I just want to hear where they're saying Sodom and Gomorrah is in America. If it's not over there, and where they say it was. I think it's out by near Turkey or something. Y'all tell me.
English is a phonetically reversed Hebrew. They're calculated mathematically. The reversed language, that is the reason why every major popular song, when it's reversed, there's actually a hidden meaning behind it symbolically. English is a phonetically reversed Hebrew.
Interesting. Drop in the comments below songs that say crazy sayings when you reverse them. What type of engine is that? Is it just burning fire? Fowler Road locomotive. I'm trying to see what's going on. How is it propelling?
This magic talisman can control water. Watch this. Ancient texts say it could summon rain, part rivers, even raise the sea. Because
there's no way that did that. That had to be some camera play. Or this could be some black magic. You be the judge. The story of the Hard Times token in the Panic of 1837.
I was metal detecting around this 1700s house, and by the foundation, I got a really good signal, and it turned out to be this coin. But it wasn't just any ordinary coin, it was something I hadn't found before. It was a Hard Times token, which was unofficial currency that was privately minted between 1833 and 1843. The story of these coins goes back to Andrew Jackson when he was elected for a second term. One of his main goals was to dissolve the Second Bank of the United States before it was rechartered. He believed the bank became too corrupt, a private enterprise that had little constitutional oversight. He argued that there was an uncontrollable amount of land speculation and too much paper money in circulation. Jackson infamously vetoed the recharter of the Second National Bank, and he started allocating the funds into smaller state banks. The final blow was the issuance of the Specie Circular Act in 1836, requiring land purchases to be made with gold and silver rather than paper currency. Later that year, Martin Van Buren was then elected president and continued with Jackson's policies. Eventually, in New York, the credit system completely collapsed, causing a domino effect on bank failures. This created huge financial instability and distrust, and inflation became rampant. Money was hoarded, and a recession began to take hold in what is known as the Panic of 1837. This prompted private businesses to manufacture coins of their own, mimicking 1-cent pieces. These were Hard Times tokens, which were either political, satirical, or made for advertising purposes. One of the companies who made these tokens was Scoville in Waterbury, Connecticut. They were Whigs, anti-Jackson, and produced a series of tokens mocking the policies of Jackson and Van Buren. Included in the series of tokens they made was one that I found. On the front, it features a damaged ship wrecked on rocks in rough seas with the word experiment written on the hull. This particular token actually copied a political cartoon created by Anthony Imbert in 1833 titled The Experiment in Full Operation, where you could see Andrew Jackson smoking a pipe along with his VP Van Buren standing behind him. You can also see the USS Constitution in the background burning, a metaphor for the state of the economy. On the reverse of the coin, it shows the USS Constitution sailing on smooth seas, with the word Constitution on the hull. Around the edge says Webster Credit Current and the date of 1841. This token was made anticipating the election of 1840, in which it was presumed Daniel Webster would win and become president. However, another Whig named William Henry Harrison ended up winning the presidency that year. Even though these tokens were not official U.S. currency, it was adopted as such and they still circulated, as evidenced by finding one underground at an old home site. Who knew a dirty old coin found metal detecting could have such a fascinating history behind it?
That was interesting and well researched.
So this is Hive moderation. It detects AI and deepfake imagery and videos. I was convinced that this Blue Origin video was fake, so I put it through Hive moderation, and look what we get, 82%. Wow. Wow.
I wonder when they're going to televise us attempting to go back to the moon again. I feel like they were saying, what, in 2028 was the next time? Because we don't have the technology anymore? Well, it should be coming up. That should be a spectacle.
Ancient ruins in Burma have popped out of the ground after an earthquake in what is now Myanmar. Okay, this is wild because Burma is actually gorgeous and they have a really rich culture. And unlike many other governments, the Burmese government gave the okay to excavate quickly after these were discovered. They're just starting, but this place is believed to be a palace and it is huge. Myanmar is known for the pagoda. This guy would have been the biggest one if the king that had commissioned it didn't die and an earthquake didn't take a lot of it out. But right behind it, you'll see what it would have looked like if it was finished. I'm not going to begin to try and pronounce that name, but the place is beautiful. Unfortunately, it was also damaged in this earthquake. But the form they used to build these temples is an advanced geometric concept called the forward circle. And the best example of this is their crowning achievement, the Shui Dagon Pagoda. Head to toe in gold, inside and out, the thing's an absolute unit. Locals say it's 2,600 years old, so we're going to go with that. You got to take a minute and realize how crazy this architecture actually is, though. The forward circle can be used to perfectly break up harmonic ratios in music. It is a fractal, meaning you can zoom into it as much as you want and the form will stay the same. You can even rotate it and the form will stay the same. It is also one of the only hyperbolic fractals. That's advanced geometry. It's used in deep learning for AI models. Also used in signal processing, and if we travel through a black hole, we have to use that geometry to navigate it, unless you are an Egyptian. There's a mathematical theory of everything called E8, and if you flatten it, it's the same shape as that pagoda. Myanmar is right between India and Cambodia. All three use harmonics in their architecture. Using new acoustic analysis tools and LiDAR, we are seeing so much stuff that is far more advanced than we ever thought, which makes new stuff like this even more exciting.
That's not the first time I've heard about people flying in a circle formation. I believe the Egyptians were getting chased by some type of hellhound when they were traveling, and the only way they could elude them is flying in a circle. How crazy is that?
I learned in school that these were temples to gods. But if we look at it differently, these are the left and the right sides of your brain. The doorway is the doorway into the temple. And once you enter the temple, then you can learn more about your brain, developing the faculties or the third eye of your brain. This allows you to do way more in reality, where you unify the creative side with the logical action side of your brain.
I feel like that's the easy answer. They just find an ancient temple. Oh, it's dedicated to Set Ra. Tell us the truth.
From your childhood as you've never seen them before. Here is the back of the wheel on The Price is Right. It's all plywood and wires. You know the coffee shop where they all hung out in the show Friends? Of course, we all knew that was just a set in a studio, but it just immediately ends at that coffee table. It's just all concrete and a bunch of boxes stacked around. If you grew up watching old reruns of The Addams Family, you may be surprised to find that in real life, that living room set looked like this. I mean, on some level, we knew that it was not black and white in real life, but still, if you were
It almost looked better in black and white, didn't it?
sitting in the bar in the old sitcom Cheers, you were looking out at this, an auditorium full of people staring at you. Of course, lots of sitcoms were filmed in front of a live studio audience. I've always wondered how it affects your performance as an actor when you've got a whole bunch of people there versus just the cameras. In The Terminator, if you ever saw a shot of the endoskeleton from the waist up, it was always this. If they tilted down, you would have seen this puppeteer operating him. And finally, in the original Star Wars, if they had zoomed out to show all of Greedo's outfit, they would have captured her shoes. In close-ups, Greedo is played by Maria de Aragon, and they presumably needed her to be a bit taller.
The Dogon tribe in Africa believes that their ancestry comes from the Pleiades.
As do the Cherokee in America.
The Pleiadians were here with the Maya 5,000 years ago. They gave the Maya the Mayan calendar.
Which, incidentally, is all about energy. It doesn't have anything to do with time. They speak through us, but they don't appear in the physical form because they do not want to be categorized as gods again.
The Dogon tribe in Africa believes that...
Could that be another Nephilim project that went sideways? You be the judge.
Of all the things scientists have dug up from the ancient world, this is the one I wish I could make everyone aware of. If I had children, it's the one that I would take them to go see in person. This is the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, Egypt, and you can...
Okay, you can...
Of all the things scientists have dug up from the ancient world, this is the one I wish I could make everyone aware of. If I had children, it's the one that I would take them to go see in person. This is the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, Egypt, and you can see the people on it. It's about 140 feet tall. It hasn't fallen on its side. It wasn't buried. It was unfinished, and this is how they used to make them. They would find a good patch of solid bedrock of granite and chisel that thing out by hand. In order to free it from the rock, they would then have to cut holes into the bottom part, and they would slip wedges of wood under there and then soak them in water, and the expansion of the water would crack it free. And then they would have to lift this 2 million pound hunk of rock up and move it to its base, which they've also found a short distance away. As for why I would show this to my children or to anyone interested in the past, is this right here. At some point after months or probably years of working the site, and you can still see the marks from the workers' hand tools, they found a crack in it and had to abandon it. Or any great works from a person, from a company, from a civilization, the part that you don't get to see and that you should see is all of this, all of the abandoned attempts, all of the wasted labor, all of the dashed hopes, all of the hours and hours in the hot sun, at the end of which you just had to turn around and walk away. 3,500 years later, it's still there. Of all the things scientists have dug up,
sure they could have possibly labored at that stone to try to get it out, but some of those sculptures, they definitely didn't do by hand. Maybe they was getting the raw material out that way, and maybe they had a giant come scoop it out. How else are they gonna get them millions of pounds up? On some heave-ho type stuff? You gotta be kidding me. The code word for today is Sunday Waters. Go ahead and drop Sunday Waters in the comments below if you made it this far. That shows me that you're a real one and you made it all the way through the video. And I just want to say thank you for your support. It means the world to me. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.